All right, everyone. So I think we have what looks to be everyone that had RSVP'd. I'm sure we're going to have a few coming in fashionably late, and that's perfectly okay. But I think we should get started with the wonderful group that we have here at the moment. So to some of you, good morning. To some others, good afternoon, right? Depends on where you're currently at. I will say happy Thursday. I hope your day is going well. And then for some, happy St. Patrick's Day. And to everyone, happy Friday's Eve, right? We all get excited for Friday. So happy Friday's Eve. With that said, as I mentioned to the early people who first jumped into the meeting, if you're here to flex your calendar muscles just a little bit more, you're in the right power up, right? So let's jump in and talk about the agenda of what we're talking about today, and I'll pass this off to our presenter and get started. So for today, our agenda is making the most of scheduling, right? Pretty straightforward. Things that we're going to be talking about today: best practices for getting a detailed perspective of your flex calendar, setting up permits so that your maintenance staff and those niche roles in your system who only say have the calendar view can get all of the great information that they need in your system, as well as showing off some of the export abilities and various reports you can run through your flex calendar that you may not be aware of. Now, of course, as a quick mention about myself, I'm your moderator for today. My name is Nick, and I'm a customer success manager here at RecDesk. Essentially, what I'll be doing throughout this presentation is if you have any questions at all for Jen as she goes through the presentation and all her great material, please drop them into the Zoom chat, which I'm going to put a note in now. So you should see a little pop-up, right, to show you where that chat feature is. If you have any questions that come up there or about calendar or scheduling, just drop it in there, and I'll bring it up to Jen so she can cover it for us. Together, we can all learn the same material. Otherwise, our wonderful presenter is none other than Jen Vogt, our technical support and quality assurance manager. And as I said to the first group, because it still stands true now, is she's forgotten more about RecDesk than I know. So she is a fantastic presenter to go over all of this information with us today. So with that said, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you take away a couple cool things that you can use in your system when we're done. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Jen, are you ready to take over the screen?
I am. Thanks very much, Nick.
Absolutely. The screen is yours.
All right. Welcome, everybody. So today we're going to go over some helpful tips and tricks and some things about your calendar that for those of you who have been with us for a while, maybe you're not aware of, or those of you who are newer, some good ways to be able to use that calendar. So I'm actually not going to start on the Flex calendar because there's actually a few things on the admin tab I want to remind everyone about. On the admin tab itself for RecDesk users, we do have a granular user role. It's called View Calendar Only. So for those of you who have a maintenance staff who take care of your fields or your meeting rooms, whenever you have any type of events, if you need them to have access just to see what's going on, but you don't want them to have further details because they don't need to know how much you charged or anything like that, you can give them the View Calendar Only role. Now, I have seen several departments, and I know of a lot of departments that have also connected this View Calendar role with their local police or other emergency services and town service groups. That has been a great help so that for those of you whose police may patrol the town, go around and see who's at the pavilions, that they can check right there on their computers while they're out and about for who's supposed to be there. So this is one thing I just like going over in the very beginning so you guys know that we have that granular piece. And then the other pieces are here under Manage Custom Lists. You can color code your calendar, and everyone does this all sorts of different ways. But I want to start with the top level. In our system, if you set a facility type or a program type to have a specific color, then all the reservations that you're doing for that facility are going to show up that color. If you use that color when you're creating a program type, like our aquatics over here is this nice aqua blue, and I'll make it bigger. You can choose the display color. Now, what that means is when you add a facility or a program and you assign the type to it, it's going to default to this. For those who don't know or maybe haven't played with that piece, while you default it, you can always individualize that specific program or that facility or that league to have a different color. You can choose anywhere in the color wheel. For those who already have a hex code, you could just type that in here or move your mouse around until you find the color that you like. I want that aqua blue back though. So I'm going to click choose. And that's how you're going to start defaulting the color coding of your system. And that's really helpful for those of you who want to also quickly distinguish in your community centers when it's a reservation that somebody's made versus one of your internal programming. That's a great way to just quickly look at it and see whether it's somebody from the public or if it's one of your own. Now, another piece under our Manage Custom List is Manage Tags. You'll see I've got a bunch here that have already been created. Now, what these tags are when you hit Add New are just a word or a phrase. And you can assign them to members, facility, and personnel volunteer. But today we're focusing on facilities. This is super helpful for those of you who have a lot of locations. And maybe those locations, one is the actual community center, one is the gym, one is the aquatics area. You guys don't need to have the same view on the calendar because the aquatic center just wants to look at their items. What this lets you do is put your facilities in and build in a backend filter for what rooms or what areas are associated with the aquatics department. And you can drill down as far as you'd like with this. This isn't something you have to do, especially for those of you with small amount of facilities, but those who have larger, this can be very helpful because you'll be able to, after you create your tags, go right here and say, I want this facility to be associated with, and all you have to do is check them off and it'll fill the tags in. Now, for one moment, I am going to pause. Please remember, your facilities do need to be set up ahead of time with the parent and child relationship in order for the calendar to also show everything. And remember, the children, all that means is some good examples to help explain this. For those of you who have community centers, it's breaking down each room so that you can say that basketball court 1 is used twice as much as basketball court 2. Maybe look into the reason for why, or build up more programming in your basketball court 2. The same also goes for your fields where you have a park with 4 baseball fields on it. And this way you can have the park's name and then all the fields. That will allow you to be able to reserve the entirety of the park or individual fields within it. So now I'm going to click on the Flex Calendar so I can show you some of those filters. So right over here under the tags, I can type in or start typing in any of the tags. You see that it starts giving me the options of tags I've already used. And it will immediately filter my calendar. Now I can go a step further than this. Right now, I am hiding my setup and teardown time. But if I want to show them as well, I can open that up and you see this just got a little bit bigger. Now, these filters are the best way for you guys to set up defaults, for lack of a better phrase, for your community centers, especially those of you who fall into those categories that I brought up, where one area takes care of different reservations than another. This filtered view lets you filter down even further. And for those of you who happen to like the scheduler view, I'm going to click till I find something. For those who like the scheduler view, having everything filtered this way, this is that nice breakdown right here. You get to see where a reservation already is and from what time. And because you can see all your pavilions, if somebody comes in and wants that date, you can quickly see which ones are free and which ones are already taken. Now I am going to pop back over to month view just so I can go over our printing capabilities. And really, there's a few forms with this. The regular print calendar is going to print the calendar that you are currently looking at, and it will print with color and all of your reservations as long as you don't see that plus button below at the bottom. That just means you have a large number of individual reservations for that day. It won't print in a calendar view. For those samples, click on our export. And you can see that you can choose your date range and come in here and choose when. You can order the events by date or group them by facility. For those of you who like to hang up signs outside of your pavilion saying that it's being reserved or just the basic information, you can group it by facility. So this makes it a nice and pretty PDF. So I'll download that for you. So you'll get to see this, and this gives you that nice breakdown of one facility here. Now that also exports to Excel because it's essentially the same type of setup, just in an Excel format. I'm not going to pull one right now, but you can pick and choose and play with this. The one thing to keep in mind though, is whenever you change your filters, or if you are working side by side with one of your coworkers and they just put something in and you want to see it here on the calendar, please click this refresh button, not the load on your browser. The one right here will pull any recent cached data. So if you see, if I hover over it, see how it tells me the last time it was retrieved? Make sure that that is up to date if you know changes have been made. And you can show and hide this sidebar if you'd like, just by clicking that button. I like having it out, so I keep it there. Now, another cool thing that you can do on this calendar is you can search by names. And I like to bring this up so that, because I like to show an example of reservations. For those of you who do a lot of sports, some of you have ice hockey, baseball, soccer, basketball, things like that. When you get a coach or an outside organization that's coming in and using either your fields or your rink or your courts, pick the sport. This is where you can really use that calendar function to help yourself out. Because within the title, we could do something like we can go ahead and we can type this out here, and it would be this is the group, the Little League 8U coach pitch, and this is the team, the RecDesk Bananas. Now, if you'd like to associate a user with this, like the coach, you would go ahead and start typing in their last name and select them. Oh, somebody had fun with my profile, so let me change it to my other one. And you can assign the coach here as well, as long as they have an community member account. So this will pull that information in. For things like coaches reserving use of fields or outside entities using the space, please keep in mind about your public and your private settings. While it's not as important, this piece won't affect how you see the information on your internal calendar. It will matter to the public. So for something like this, if I'm a coach and I'm reserving the field, I want people to see this so that the parents on my team can just look at your calendar and see what days and where. Private would mean that they don't see that information on the community end. They're just going to see that field 1 was reserved on this date and time. I can even ask you to go ahead and to change my color and either have it be and pick what color I want associated with that particular reservation. Now I'm going to speed through this a little bit. I'm going to say that this happens, that this practice is going to be from 8 to 9 a.m. every Saturday for the next 10 Saturdays. It's a coach, so I'm going to skip over the fees just for this example for everybody. And I can save that. Now, this is a great example. I am getting yelled at for making this reservation. When you see this pink, everyone, this means that there is a conflict. Sometimes you'll get a conflict and it'll be the exact same location, which is probably just because I used this as an example somewhere, and I apologize for that. And then other times what you'll see is this is actually maybe the community center name or the park's name. Pay attention to what's associated with that, because it may mean that you as an organization decided that entire day that all of the buildings are going to be used for a different purpose. So if you see this pink, pause. You either need to delete the date out that matches that is a conflict if the conflict is an issue, or click on that pencil button and just move it to another date. Now I'm going to save that one with conflicts, because now when I go to the calendar, if I have somebody coming in and they or calling in and they're like, hey, I can't see the banana schedule. You can quite literally type in the word banana into the search function and you will see all of the banana reservations. If I typed in Little League, anything with the name Little League in the title would also come up.
Jen, while you were going over that material, we did have a question come up that I thought would be nice for you to touch on. Is just it was regards to exporting to another calendar, such as Google. Can you kind of touch on those pieces with using the calendar elsewhere?
At this time, we don't have the sync functionality for us to just sync with something like Google, like a Google Calendar. But for those of you who may want to integrate your calendar, that's the phrase that I tend to use, we tend to hear. There's actually two ways that you can go about this, and it kind of depends on your organization. If you have a programmer or a design organization that has a programmer, so those of you who have those big giant TVs that are over your head at the community center, you might have a programmer or some type of programming software that we would be able to connect our API. You guys would be able to connect our API to. In order to get that API information, you need to email us at support@recdesk.com and give us express permission to provide the API details. And we do prefer to know who the programmer is so we can provide those details to that programmer. And if they have questions, we can talk with them at a later date. If we don't have your permission though, please be aware we will turn your programmers away and we will not provide them any information until we know from you that we can provide that's okay. Now, if you just wanted to be able to put your calendar on another site, those of you who know what the word iframe is, or if you've dealt with embedding calendars before, we do have customers who will take the community site and we can provide details for how to do that particular look. If you email us at support@recdesk.com, I do have HTML that you can use that you would be able to post the community facing site. But if you wanted this to be something you controlled a little bit more, you will need the API and you will need somebody with programming experience to assist.
Thank you, Jen. And Cynthia also mentioned a really nice tip in terms of using that filter by title feature. And it's if you're looking for multiple events, right? You have multiple cleanups, for example. If you look for just clean, you'll find all three, cleanup, cleanups, cleanup session, all of those at the same time, right? So for everyone that's participating, that is a really great tip that Cynthia put in there. So thank you so much for posting that, Cynthia. Otherwise, thank you for covering the calendar piece there, Jen. I appreciate that.
I think I know which Cindy that is too. And that is a fantastic tip. Thanks, Cindy. Um, and that is, she's right about that. You can just use partial words. Like if I just type in birth, because I don't have clean and clean up and all that fun phrasing going on in here, I can see all my birthday parties just by typing in the word birth. Now I am going to pause here though, while I'm lucky enough to have a reservation with all of our icons on it. Some of you have started to ask us what these little pictures are that we post. And I'm just going to go from left to right so that you guys can understand this. It does tell you if you hover over almost every icon we have in RecDesk. If you just hover your mouse over it, we try to tell you what that icon means or the meaning behind it. Some feel a little bit more self-explanatory than others. But this is just for your understanding. Looking at this calendar, when I see this, it means that there is a member associated with the reservation. Now, you will always see this blue O with a person because that means the reservation was made online, so it has to have a member associated with it. If you see the red money symbol, it means they're overdue and they owe you some they owe you some money for that reservation that's on the calendar. And then this orange P box means that it's a primary facility. That's just so that you're aware that you're blocking off everything that is under that. So if you accidentally block off, if it's Roosevelt Forest Park and you meant to do field 1, but you instead booked off Roosevelt Forest Park, you would see this P and it would block off all the fields that are there. Now, other things to just make sure that some of you are aware of. I know some of you have found this out at different time periods than others. Nope, it's definitely May. Is it May 23rd or the 30th this year is Memorial Day?
Forgot to unmute. It is the 30th.
Thank you. I always forget. So for those of you who have parks that are closed, you don't do any reservations, nothing happens, all of your employees are gone. If nothing is reserved or to be used on your holidays, I do recommend that you come in here. Makes your life easier just to click on the next holiday that's coming up. This is a little bit of a personal preference. I like to say things like closed for Memorial Day because I like working on one holiday at a time so that I can make that public. And what you want to do here is you want to select all of your parent facilities. Oops, chose the same facility twice. And the reason you want to choose all the parent facilities is because this is going to make it so that you are able to close any of the children facilities under them. You only need to block off the parents. You don't need to worry about every single field. Those will take away this. Doing this is going to make it so that there are no online reservations that can be made. And if your staff goes to make something in-house and they make a boo-boo and they accidentally do choose a holiday date, that a warning will pop up for them. And then you click on continue. You can make it the whole day or set the hours, whatever you'd like to show here. And then use the reoccurring option. and it's the last Monday of the month. So that's the pattern I'm going to use. There's no fees. And that will block off all of my Memorial Day on my calendar. Now, some things that I do want to pause real fast and bring up because we're on the calendar view now. For those of you who plan to use the view calendar only role for your park maintenance or for your police departments or any other types of services like that, I will tell you that one of the biggest things that I have heard from our customers that is the best help is to recommend that you guys create some type of permit within our system, and I'll go over that in a moment, just to pull at the very minimum the member's profile information. That way, those of you who have pavilions that maybe you don't allow them to use charcoal grills, if the police get there and somebody left a charcoal grill running and there's a fire in it and it's by itself, they can pull up who's the person that had the reservation and see their contact details. We also have additional fields that'll pull in more information, like what they're using the reservation for, or the date and times of the reservation, things of that nature. This is the only area that those employees will be able to see. They're going to see this screen and they could print the permit, but the view calendar only members are not going to be able to edit. They're not going to be able to view details, and they're not going to be able to make any new reservations. So if we go to the facilities tab, this is where the permit templates are. And there is an add new permit template button. Just please be aware, it's my demo sites. There's a lot here. And when you hit show template help, these are all the tokens that our system has available to you right now. And you just choose what information you'd like them to pull based on the information that you want available to every member that has the ability to look at the Flex calendar. Please know all dates and all dates with totals are going to be the easier ones to use for the most recent version of our Flex scheduler. The all dates with totals will also have a breakdown of any add-on fees for those of you who do add-on fee reservations. This is the one that's going to include all of those details. Do we have any other questions?
I did have two actually that came through Jen, both pretty straightforward, I think. You may want to pop around to show them. But one was if I'm putting a reservation on my calendar to mark it off from like my organization, is there a way that I can do that as like the customer? That was one question. And the other one was if I want to block off times from online reservations, would I do the process that you did of putting in for the holidays?
So for blocking the holidays, absolutely what I just did for the process I just did would be the workflow that you utilize. I will tell you, I've heard some pretty nifty tricks. Some groups don't associate any member with those and they're just on the calendar. And I'll be honest, there's others that absolutely hate that and they want to be able to track it. So what some of them have done is they've created member profiles that are as silly as it sounds, their organization. That's how they create the name. They'll say that this is first name Rec Department, last name Oak Ridge, which is our demo site. Oh goodness, I'm just going to put in today's date. I've seen groups utilize, I call them fake profiles, and I apologize for that, but tracking profiles is probably a better way to phrase this because while you may not be charging money to them, this will give you that history. And you can edit the name for these type of workarounds to just be, you can type out Rec Department Oak Ridge and you can change this to an organization. And I apologize. I'm going to click a little quick right now because I just want to get the reserve up. When you switch the household name to an organization, what happens is you can start searching by typing out Rec Department. See, it's pulling in that business name so I can see the Rec Department Oak Ridge as my only customer. I know some groups have been doing this because they love how easy it is to track the history on that specific profile. It also gives you the ability under facilities and reservations search, if you wanted to know how many of the how many marked reservations were really for you as an organization, you could start typing that in here and you can filter by just that group. And they unfortunately do not have any in here. So I'll show you instead with my last name because I know I have a lot. And this way you can see in a very easy format anything that would be connected to that particular user. So it lets you go back to that history to an even bigger level because here it becomes much easier because you can export that information to Excel. Please keep in mind, though, for those of you who use this reservation search, that when you filter by a specific member, you should still put in a date range, especially for those of you who have members that are, the head of an organization who do like 700 reservations a month with you. Make sure you put in that date range. The more information that comes back in, it could be a little bit slow to just pull in. So if you did all time, it could just get a little laggy there for a moment. And another thing to keep in mind, this view is going to always be a little bit different than the community view. The community is only going to see public-facing programs, leagues, or reservations that are made public. They're not going to be able to filter the way that you do. They only have the ability to filter by the facility name. And this can get a little bit tricky because if the facility is the reservation and it's considered private, they're only going to see once they drill down to that specific facility. But you'll see that it was reserved on this basketball court. One was reserved from 5 to 6, and the why it was reserved on your end. And remember over here, my favorite part, if your whole league just happens to need an export of all the games that they have going on, you can uncheck those types and just print out what you need for your leagues. Now, do we have any other questions?
Oh, I do actually have one that just came through. They tested printing out their permit and it shows the RecDesk logo. They wanted to know if they have their own logo, if they can put it on their permit. So it's a little bit more personalized.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. And hang on, everybody, because I'm just going to pop this open so everyone sees this all at the same time. Our permits always have a default up here with RecDesk. It's also going to be the same thing that shows on your invoices when you print them or your payments when you print them. It will show the RecDesk logo. If you want your logo to show instead, or maybe you want your logo plus a little bit of information like contact number and email. I know some people have also asked us to post their tax ID number up there as well. Just send us the logo that you'd like to use and any of the information you'd want posted and to support at recdesk.com, and we can get that set up for you. Now, please note, we tend to justify your logos to the right-hand side. So if you had a logo that you wanted centered or to the left, just make sure you specify. Otherwise, we tend to just put them off to the right-hand side. And then once we get that updated, we'll let you know, and it'll update all three of those items.
Thank you, Jen. And for everyone's sake, I did just put the support center's not the support center, but the support team's contact information in case you want to send an email over for either your logo or, of course, any other questions that our team can assist you with. That information has been put into the chat. Thank you, Jen.
You're welcome. And I apologize. I feel like I missed the first question because I know I got to the second one. What was the first one again, or did I cover that?
Was that when I asked the two questions? I had asked, let me see here. It was blocking off the online reservation piece, if that was the same process as holidays, which I believe you covered. And then the other one was tracking that you touched on, if they wanted to track an organization. And then the last question that I had for you was just the permit logo. That was the one I got direct messaged about.
Perfect. Okay. Nope, but just want to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Nope, you are golden. Thank you, Jen.
You're welcome, Nick. One last thing I always do like to add to is just a general reminder for everybody. When you are on your dashboard, we do have our support center that you can type any questions that you have in here from, if you want to use a signature pad, you can start typing in the word signature and it gives you a couple of articles to go ahead and take a look at to be able to read through. If you are more of a visual learner though, we totally understand. Scroll all the way to the bottom and you can click on the YouTube channel icon here. And we have a whole bunch of videos here that are available to you that you'll be able to go through, and they're all in distinct playlists. So you'll be able to break it down to what your specific needs are. And we do try to keep these videos nice and short. So that way, when you're just going back to reference that specific item, you're not having to watch a half-hour video. They're just nice and tiny. But all right. If anyone else has any other questions, we will leave this meeting room open. Otherwise, thank you very much, Nick, for all your help today. And thank you everyone for joining us. And if you have any questions, please feel free to let us know.